Hey guys, James here with Waterford Business Solutions, and today we're going to be starting a new series talking about employee hiring and different practices to use there. We're going to go through hiring process, ways to get those new hires, ways to get reviews for Glassdoors, employee management methods, a lot of different things there. But to start this entire series out, we're going to stick to the hiring side of everything. With the hiring side of everything, we are going to start with one of my favorite softwares out there for hiring called Indeed. I'm sure many of you have heard of it, and there's always mixed reviews that I hear on it. Most people say, oh, Indeed didn't work, or it costs a lot, or whatever. Well, the biggest thing to remember with Indeed is you don't have to pay for Indeed. You can have a free account and post jobs on Indeed without ever paying for it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how to create an Indeed job post that is going to get you a ton of applications without paying for anything, and then how you yourself can boost that post for free. One of the best things about Indeed is that it gives you a job post link that you can go ahead and click on and select, so that you can end up posting that link in other places. Put it on Facebook, advertise it on your website, put it on Craigslist. There's many different locations that you can end up putting this link to make your job reach more people at no cost to yourself. I've seen people put it in the newspaper before. I've seen people put it on Facebook ads that do obviously cost a little bit, or just put it onto local job searching Facebook groups. And you are putting this out there, and you're using Indeed to manage the hiring process, not actually go out and find you any candidates. That's what Indeed does best, is helping you to manage the hiring process. So with that being said, we are going to go ahead and dive into Indeed and how to set up a job in Indeed. So right now what you're looking at is you are looking at My Job portal in Indeed for employers. What I've done here is I've gone ahead and set up an employer login for Indeed. And this allows you to create jobs, post jobs, view candidates, talk with candidates, etc., etc. I don't have any current open jobs, that's why you see nothing here. But we are going to go ahead and create a job today. So we're going to start by coming up here to post a job. And we are going to go through and do a job posting example. So when we're in here, it's going to give you the option to do start from scratch or use a previous job template. If you've used Indeed in the past, using a previous job template is great because you don't have to put in as much information. But I'm going to start from scratch because this is going to be a different job than I would normally put on my Indeed. Because I'm going to be planning a job as a home service or contractor, not as a accounting firm. So we're going to go ahead and start from scratch, and the first thing they're going to want to know is where it's located, how you want the job posting to be, so English, Spanish, French, whatever, the name of the business, and then what the job title is. Now for job titles, I'm going to pretend like this is for an HVAC company. If you start typing something in, it's going to give you options here, standard common options. You can select one of these, and that's going to help them to make suggestions on wages, make sure that it is going to people who are suitable for that role, different things like that. So I'm going to choose HVAC technician, and then it's going to ask us what category it falls under. You can either make your own, or you can use a predetermined one. I'm going to stick with their predetermined one. And then after we do that, they want to know about the commute, about the workplace, everything like that. So with the commute there, we're going to go ahead and put in how the employees are going to work. Are they going to be reporting to a specific address? Do they report to kind of wherever? So if you are a contractor where, or an HVAC company where your guys show up to the office first thing in the morning and they get their schedules, then we would want to make sure you say report to a specific address. If you're not, then you would go ahead and say employees will not report to a specific address. If you say not, you can go ahead and say on the road or fully remote or something like that. But I'm going to say they report to a specific address. From there, they're going to want to know if you want your location displayed. You can either display your specific street address, or you can share a generalized location. I generally recommend using the generalized location because an interested employee will go out and they will do their research to figure out where you're located on their own. Then you are going to be required to put in your street address here. And the reason they're requiring you to put in your street address is because they want to make sure that they're advertising the job in the correct area. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in, but remember, I'm hiding my address, so they're just going to see a bubble of where this is located. Next, and one thing you can do is if you want to advertise in multiple locations, instead of just one city, you can do that, but keep in mind this is a paid feature. Next, due to COVID, they've added this here about whether the job can be performed remotely. Generally speaking, for a tradesman, it can't be performed remotely. So we're going to answer no to that. Then we're going to go ahead and pop on over here. And now it's going to ask us about job details. Is this a full-time job? Is it temporary? Contract, internship, what is it? I'm going to say this is a temporary full-time job because we're going to pretend like this is a busy season for us and we just need an extra technician for 3 months or so. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. And then it's going to ask us about the wage. Now they're going to say average salary for the person that you chose is X. They're telling you that so that you can go ahead and make sure that you're competitive, but you are not required to put that there. They allow you to set the range, but you can also say starting at, up to, or exact rate. I recommend a range because that shows your bottom end and your top end, but your top end should be your top end. If someone is fully qualified, if they're perfect for the job, then they would get that top end price. If they're just getting their feet wet or just starting, then they may get this lower price. So don't put a price here to attract someone because you know they're going to want to make more money, because then you're just attracting the wrong type of person. If you are putting $50 here instead of $31 and you get a ton of people to apply, but all of them are looking to be paid $30 an hour, and you're not willing to pay that $30 an hour or $40 or $50, then those applications aren't much of a benefit to you. So then we're going to hop on down here and it's going to ask us about supplemental pay. Do you pay bonuses? Do you pay tips? Do you pay commission? Other, whatever, and you can put all of that there. I'm going to say that there will be bonus pay and tips, and that's it on this one. Then your benefits. Benefits are huge nowadays. Benefits are huge because it's no longer just about making money. It's about the company, work environment, and the workplace. And we're going to get a little bit more into that later on. But for today, we're just going to look at benefits generalized. Health insurance is a major one that is nice to offer if you can. It has gone up in price, but offering health insurance to your employees can definitely benefit them long term and benefits you. Paid time off. Do you give any paid time off? Dental insurance, vision insurance. So if you're going to offer health insurance, you may offer dental and vision. Do you have a flexible schedule? Do you have retirement plans, referral programs, anything like that? I'm going to go ahead and answer yes to these top 5 because we'll go ahead if they have a 401k pay into it. If we keep them more than temporary, they would have access to health insurance and everything, because a temporary employee knows that they may not have access to that. But if you offer it there, then they know long term if they get brought on instead of being a temp employee to a full-time employee, then it can be very beneficial to them. Maybe you do 401k matching if you pay into a 401k. So just look through here and see what happens. If you're going to offer any benefit eligibility. Make sure, especially for health insurance and if you're hiring for temporary, make sure you mark only full-time employees eligible if that's the case, and waiting period may apply if that's the case. Otherwise, they may expect you, even if they're part-time or temporary, to immediately start offering those benefits. How many hires do you plan to make? You can answer how many you're looking to make so that they can help you meet your goal. I'm going to just put one here, and then they're going to ask you about how urgent this is to make this hire. We're going to put 2 to 4 weeks here because that should be generally what you're looking to do there is a 2 to 4 week period. The more you rush it, the more it's going to cost and the more likely you are to not make the right hire. So if you were to promote this in Indeed, if you want to make a hire in 1 to 3 days, they're going to charge you a lot more to make that hire in 1 to 3 days than they will if you're going to make that hire in 2 to 4 weeks. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and continue and move on here, and then some more additional job details. How do you work? Is there overtime? Is there holidays, on-call, night shift, weekends? How long do you work? That type of thing. I'm going to answer yes to all of that. This is an HVAC person. Basically, most companies always have someone on call. You probably will have to work holidays in case something goes wrong. You might have to work nights. So answer that just so that they know, so that it's not a problem at all. How frequently will you pay your staff? Is it daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? Most people, the quicker you pay them, the happier they are. So generally your best options are going to be this weekly or bi-weekly. Daily is a pain to pay unless it's really, really temporary work. I'm going to say bi-weekly because that's how I suggest most companies to pay there. It's just a little bit easier. Then we want to describe our company culture. Again, company culture is major now. It is definitely a huge thing. And so take your time to accurately describe this. Are you people-oriented? Are you team-oriented? So if you are supportive to your customers and supportive to your employees, do you want to cooperate and collaborate with your employees? Are you outcome-oriented? Just go ahead and select several different options here because you want to make sure that any hires understand your business so that they are comfortable with the workplace and not just the job. Most of the younger populace, the people coming into the workplace nowadays, are not interested in just the money. They would rather have a good, comfortable workplace than a uncomfortable workplace and a lot of money. So company culture has become very, very common and very major, more so in big cities than smaller towns, but it's definitely spreading a lot there. Then they're going to ask about any specifics. So if you're willing to hire someone who doesn't have a high school diploma or GED, put that in there. If you're willing to hire someone with disabilities, put that in there. If you don't have a college diploma, put that in there. Since this is an HVAC technician, I'm going to go ahead and say not having a high school diploma is okay, not having a college diploma is okay, because we're more worried about their performance and the job that they do, not per se their education. Are you willing to hire older people? Are you willing to hire someone who is just entering or just returning to the workforce? Are you willing to hire someone with gaps in their resume? Are you willing to do a fair chance and follow fair chance hiring practices? Can you hire someone under the age of 18? So go ahead and look at those. I'm going to go ahead and say military experience is encouraged to apply just because we want to be military friendly there. And then we're going to enter our company website. This way they can go ahead and do some research on us. I apparently can't type. And if you have a Facebook page, go ahead and put that in there. That way, again, they can go ahead and do some research on us without anything weird or major going on. You want an employee who's willing to take the time to research you and your company and not just come to you and apply for a job. You want them to understand you, what your business is, what your goals are, everything like that. The next thing here is going to be job descriptions. We're going to go ahead and be very detailed in this job description. So I'm going to pause this real quick and I'm going to type out my job description and be right back, and we're going to highlight a few things here. Okay guys, I'm back. I've gone ahead and filled in both of these areas here. The first area is describing the job. So you can see that I put a good bit of detail in there, letting them know that it's a seasonal HVAC area, what it is that we're looking to have them do, repairs on units, service and install startups. We're looking for a fast learner willing to work in a fast-paced environment so that they understand that it's going to be moving, it's going to go quick, it's not going to be slow normally, especially if you're hiring for the off season, and that they should be able to work by themselves with minimal assistance. You're seeking someone who is self-motivated but willing to stop and ask questions if they're unfamiliar. That way they are willing to go out and do the job and do it themselves, but also someone who's not just going to do the job because they have to. They're going to, if they don't understand something, stop and talk with someone, give someone a call to get a better understanding. We're letting them know that this might be offered as a long-term position, but clarifying at the end of it that this is a temporary position. The candidate will go through a training program. Training is a major thing. A lot of candidates love to see that you train, just because even if they've worked in this industry forever, you can always learn something new. Candidates should be willing to work on-call hours, nights, etc., due to the fact of what they are doing. Be sociable with clients because you want to make sure the client is comfortable, not just the employee. We're also letting them know that we are a tech-focused company. Since we're a tech-focused company, we're going to be using technology in the field, and they need to be willing to use and learn new softwares and mobile devices. They also should have a clean driving record because they're going to be driving one of your vehicles. If they don't, then it's not worth them applying type thing. Another thing that they've gone ahead and started doing is COVID-19 precautions due to COVID-19. So I always recommend putting something in here, especially right now. It makes the candidates know that you're thinking about your employees. And basically just write down what you were doing. So for me, I put in, if you are interacting with customers, you have to wear a mask and stand 6 feet away. When payments and stuff are collected, keep distance apart and promptly disinfect the device. So we've gone ahead and put in all of that information. The next thing we're going to do is we want to know how we want to receive applications. Email, phone, or in person. In person means drop it by the office. Phone is going to mean call us, and email is email it to us. I recommend email because they can apply online and they can go ahead and put everything into the system here, and you just get an email from Indeed. Do you want them to include a resume? If you do, go ahead and say yes. If not, no, or say optional. I always recommend a resume just to see what they think is important about themselves, because that's a great way in determining what the employee values, is looking at that resume and seeing what they prioritize on their skills. How do you want Indeed to communicate with you? You can add extra things in here. You can send email updates for every new client. You can use Employer Assist. So this is going to be basically using going to help to remove the interest in the client after so many days. So if you go 14 days without looking at a candidate, they're going to automatically remove them from the area. Okay. They're going to make sure that you understand that they will be doing that. Then they're going to have these applicant qualifications. This is super important here because no matter what you wrote in that job description, they could just gloss over it. This area here is something that they can still gloss over, but if they don't answer it, it's going to alert you. So we're going to say how many years of blank experience do you have? So we're going to say HVAC, and we're going to say we want at least 3 years. And then we can say a deal breaker. If they don't have that 3 years there, they will automatically reject the candidate. That way you don't see anyone who doesn't meet that. You could ask about interview. I generally don't recommend doing that at this point, because if you go ahead and you do it at this point, then they may think that you are willing to interview at this point. Right now, all you were trying to do is get candidates' names. We're not trying to interview anyone. We're just trying to get a list of names. Do you have a valid certificate? Go ahead and put that in there. Browse more qualifications. Background check. Always ask if they're willing to undergo. And this I always say is a deal breaker. Work authorizations. This is something that we kind of have to ask sometimes in the construction industry. Are you authorized to work? Again, make that a deal breaker if they are not authorized to work. We've already gone over experience. Education, we might not need it. If you want someone who can speak a specific language, so maybe you want them to specifically speak Spanish, we can put that in there. Maybe not make that a deal breaker, but willingness to travel. So you can put a bunch of these questions here. One that I always recommend doing is basically writing your own here and basically saying, do you have a clean driving record? Or how many accidents, tickets, and or citations have you received in the last 10 years? Now, they can obviously lie on this question, but you're at least asking, and they know right ahead or from the get-go that you are interested in that. You can put in more experience or whatever and have multiple different experiences. I wouldn't do much more than 5 to 10 questions here, but ask whatever is a deal breaker at least, because that's going to help to remove people from you. And if they don't answer, then it helps you to determine their interest in the job. Then we're going to save and continue and move on to the next page here. We're almost getting to the end, but we're going to go ahead and do customized screening. This is going to go ahead and give you some tests that they can go, or tests that they can do. This helps you to determine their knowledge in a certain field. And so they're going to go ahead and suggest some topics that we can choose there or preview. And we're going to dive a little bit more into this a little bit later on. Or you can do more topics here. I always like to use phone interview because it allows them to answer phone questions and you can listen to them and get to know them without having to actually talk with them. But you can do a lot of things. So I'm going to go ahead and use this HVAC technician and this phone interview here and select both of those. What it's going to do is the minute they apply, they're going to go ahead and get an email saying, hey, you've been invited to do this. I really recommend doing that as it helps to eliminate and weed out uninterested parties. When you're weeding those out, it makes the hiring process easier and quicker for you. I always say if they're not willing to do at least one of those questionnaires, they're automatically dropped from me, and I'm no longer interested in them. So once we do everything there, they're going to have you preview the job. Once you've made sure everything's good, they're going to go ahead and they're going to try to get you to sponsor this job. This is where they're going to try to get you to pay. Remember, you do not need to pay. Please skip over this most of the time unless you absolutely want someone. What they're going to go ahead and say is, oh, we recommend a $33 daily budget. So that means you're going to spend $247 a week basically to do this. And you may get 60 to 66 applicants. If you don't do it, then this is going to be what happens. The more that you want to make here, the more they're going to charge you here. So keep that in mind. Right down here, hard to see, but there is a maybe later. Most of the time, I recommend choosing that maybe later and choosing one of these because they're going to, again, try to get you to sponsor that job because they really want you to know. And again, they're going to go ahead and probably throw at you sponsoring that job one more time. So once we've gone through all that, at this point, it's going to go ahead and put everything in here. Now, one thing that you see right here is this is a free post, and they're estimating that you're going to get 60 candidates, 60 more candidates if you sponsor. They want you to sponsor that job. So they're saying if you don't sponsor this job, you're only going to get a handful of candidates. That is generally not the case. Most of the time when we're dealing with this, especially if you go onto Facebook and Craigslist and other places, it is going to bring in a lot of results. I see all the time myself where they say, oh, you're only going to get 50 candidates, and I don't sponsor jobs ever for my company. And we still get 100, 150, 200 candidates with no sponsoring and not going to Facebook because that many people are out there looking. So avoid the sponsoring. At this point, it's going to put the job status as in processing. From there, it's going to basically review everything. They're going to make sure that everything looks good and that we are good to go there. And then you will be able to see everything here. And as candidates start applying, you will see them start to roll in here. We're going to look at that on a different day. But that is how to go ahead and create a job posting in Indeed. Once this job is active, you can actually come in here and you can add a candidate. So if you've got your own candidates, you can add one in here and you can put in phone, email, whatever, add resume, put in anything that you want there, and they will still get those tasks to do that we'd already talked about. You can improve your job description if you want. You can go ahead and you can get a link for this, like I said, and go ahead and post it other places. So there's a lot that you can do here. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this job out because there's no need for it. But that is how to go ahead and put everything into Indeed to put in a job application. In the future, go ahead and look out for videos talking specifically about the different tests that Indeed can give, along with reviewing candidates in Indeed. For now, though, have a wonderful rest of your day, and if you need help with this hiring process or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to us at waterfordbusiness.com or shoot us an email at info@waterfordbusiness.com. You have a wonderful rest of your day.